The Crazies is the fourth film from writer-director George A. Romero, famous obviously for Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead and many other of the Dead films. They're really the only things I've seen from him, so I wanted to stretch my Romero legs a bit and see what else he'd done. And I'd seen the remake of The Crazies and thought it was okay, it was a good film, has its issues, but I wanted to see what the original was like, see where it came from, and so I did. I watched it, and I gotta say, I'm very impressed. I liked this film quite a lot. So it follows the story of this town that is hit by an accident. A military plane goes down and basically a virus is released. It's germ warfare, something that was planned for germ warfare, but it sends people crazy. The military is kind of sent to the town to kind of get this situation under control. But the problem is that with a town that is largely out of control, it becomes harder and harder to distinguish who's gone mad and who is just trying to get the hell out of there. So it becomes like a shoot on sight mentality, and the whole thing really just feels very relevant. Just that we now live in a culture where hysteria kind of seems to rule, and people are either really far right or really far left, and people confuse motives because they're projecting onto each other based on what people's kind of politics are and things like that. And you think about COVID and did you get the jab and this, it all, I don't know, just for a film from 1973 it still feels quite relevant. And beyond that, it's just a really fun ride that also feels quite believable in its approach. In many ways it feels kind of documentary in the way that it's shot. Romero kind of goes to almost like a news footage style of filming certain scenes, and the way he relays information by going to various rooms of people, like boardrooms, military and government and this, that and the other, and has people speaking to each other over phone and stuff. It's all very fast paced, very kind of getting the details as quick as possible, in and out, and we follow various factions, various groups of characters. We have these three main characters that we're kind of following, this husband and wife character who haven't caught the virus yet, and a friend of theirs who's a bit off the chain. They're both ex-military, and this one guy, he's like, this whole situation brings the worst out in him. And you don't know if is it the madness, is it the virus, or is this guy just nuts to begin with? Romero does a fantastic job of keeping that pace relentless, filling you in with the information you need when you need it, again, at quite a pace. You have to kind of keep up. For a film that's from the 70s, it doesn't feel like slow in its delivery. And I think the performances across the board are all pretty decent. There's no one that kind of stands out as a weak link. But I enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed the way that Romero presents it. Now he edited the film as well as writing and directing, so he's a bit of a jack of all trades, but he has a very clear vision. This is clearly his vision. The fact that he wrote it, directed it, and then edited it. It's just, everything that he wants to say, he gets to say it. There's some really hard-hitting moments in the film as well. Like there's a thing that happens with, like, I won't go into it in any great detail here because I don't want to spoil any moments for the film, but there's a father and daughter relationship going on in this where obviously one of them catches the virus at one point and they go insane, and then they do something which is unquestionably evil, but then they realise in the middle of the act what they're doing, and it's almost like the clear-headedness starts to come back, and they realise what's happening, and it becomes this nightmarish situation. Like if you put yourself into that person's shoes and you think, you know, if I was infected by this thing and then found myself in the midst of this situation, it's icky and it's depressing, but it's also, it's just quite a sting. It's quite a bad moment for a particular character that makes you feel for them in a way. Like you're not sat there judging them because you know why they've become this way, but you feel for them in that moment. Lynn Lowry, who plays Kathy, so she's the daughter in that situation, I think she's pretty good in this. At one point she starts to lose the plot as well, and the way that that's played is very underplayed, in fact. And I watched, there was a special feature on the disc for this. It was just focused on her for some reason. It just on her career. It was like a retrospective of her career. This is the first thing I've seen her in, and by all accounts, and you know, even from the little featurette that's on the disc, her career didn't really go to any high peaks after this. But she was happy enough to talk about it. But she does a pretty fine job in this. She's you know, it surprises me that her career didn't go further. But here, yeah, it's like on the featurette, she said that her natural instinct would have been to play it a bit larger, to be a bit more dramatic. There's a particular moment that happens where Romero, and you know, kudos to him as a director, he says, no, we're just going to bring it right down. It's going to be an almost flat moment, no theatrics. It's just going to happen, and that's going to play. And I think because of that, it plays stronger, it plays harder, has a bit more emotional weight to the moment. It's well directed. I think this film has given me a newfound respect for Romero. I mean, last year, just over a year ago, I watched Night of the Living Dead for the first time, having only ever seen the two direct sequels to that, and I was quite impressed with that as a debut. But then I kind of went away thinking, yeah, that's great, but ultimately he's a bit of a one-trick pony in the sense that he just makes these zombie movies. But here, I think, yeah, he sets himself apart as a filmmaker who's got a bit more up his sleeve. You know, he's a very, like, even Night of the Living Dead was quite a politically charged film. It had a lot of kind of subtext going on under the surface. So, and the fact that he does play such a strong hand in the process with regards to editing and writing his own stuff, this film did give me a newfound respect for him that makes me want to check out the rest of his work. This is a really solid film with quite a few surprises in it, some hard-hitting moments that have some impact to them even now, all these years later. And I would highly recommend it. I certainly think it's better than the remake, which, as I say, I came to the remake completely fresh because I saw that one first. So I had no kind of preconceptions going in. I wasn't holding it up against this one. If anything, I was holding this one up against the remake. This had competition. But I think this one comes out better. I definitely rate this higher than the remake. So, yeah, there's a lesson there, you know. Advancements in technology and bigger budget and all that doesn't necessarily equal a better film. So check it out. It's really good. I give it a 4 out of 5. Highly recommend it. If you have seen it, let me know what you thought about the film down in the comments section below. Thank you for checking out this video, and until next time, cracking.